Yo, yo. I'm excited. It is the Green Room again. Welcome. Smelcome one and all. Man, I am pumped about today. And it's gonna be a good one. Cause I'm fanboying today. Cause today we have Andy Mineo stopping through the Green Room. So y'all come on in. It's going to be a great one, man. It's going to be a great day. Stephanie, let me find your message. So I'm up and ready. See, what I need a producer. I need a show producer. I need sponsorship. I need people to take this show serious. I need sponsorship. Okay? So, anyone who wants to sponsor me, this needs to be sponsored. Okay? That's what needs to happen. That's what we believe in God for. NBA, Coca-Cola, my jib. So I'm excited, man. I'm pumped. And again, the Green Room's purpose is to bring hope and energy and love and passion and joy. The world needs joy. And so that's what we're here to do. So, all right, let's get this thing pop locking. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, my lamb.
Hey,
Oh, my lamb.
what's up, brother?
Andy Mineo.
Yeah. Happy
Yo, man.
Juneteenth, my brother.
Thank you, man. Happy Juneteenth to all.
Joint needs to be a national holiday by this point, eh?
Like, why are people going to work? I have no idea why people are still working today.
Our record label actually decided to make it a holiday for the label, so we took it off, which is dope, man.
Look at that. Look at
Yeah.
that. Now, the label, you guys are based out of Atlanta,
Yep.
and you are a New Yorker.
I'm a New Yorker, but I'm in the A now.
You live in Atlanta.
I live in Atlanta now. We moved down, me and my wife, bought a crib or two, and we're just starting that life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That ownership life, so.
Welcome to the South, baby. Welcome to the South. I'm a Georgia boy. Went to Georgia Southern. I'm a Georgia boy through and through. So welcome
That's
to the
what's
South.
up.
But we
Yeah.
live in Carolina right now. So we're going to get this thing popping, man.
Okay.
I'm pumped, bro. I'll tell you why. You are on my Mount Rushmore. Top 5.
Oh,
True
word.
True story, man.
Wow,
True
that's
story.
an honor, man. Thank
True
you.
story. So I'm going to give my Mount Rushmore. I put some thought into this in the shower
Okay.
before I got on here.
All right.
Here's my Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
It's going to shock some people. Andre 3000.
Yeah, that's a goodie.
Just love that dude. Eminem, that's just me. I love him.
Uh-huh.
You and Cray.
Wow.
And my curveball is probably going to be Missy Elliott, man.
That ain't a curveball. She a GOAT. For
Bro,
real.
ain't she a beast, though?
She a GOAT creatively. I mean, because that's the thing. When people talk about top 5, and sorry, let me roll up my window. When people talk about top 5 when it comes to rap or whatever, there's so many things you could base that on. You know, their lyrical ability, their creativity, their voice, their rhyme schemes and patterns, you know, and then the great artists are the people who can put it all together. So when people talk rap, you kind of got to talk, well, what aspect, you know? And so her, I think she's unmatched. Yeah, impact is another big category. So
yeah, so that's mine, and that's just the alley-oop for yours. You got to give it to us.
yeah, my 5, dang, man, so crazy. I actually got one that, yeah, I feel like different stages of my life, I have different people. But like this dude gets taken out of this conversation often, and it's really frustrating to me because I loved him growing up. But LL Cool J, Buddy is an icon, and your man made hard records. He made street records. He made like records for the ladies. He just always found a way to pull it off. And
a good one.
He's a legend, man. I also really love my wife about to jump in the car, so you get to say hi. Who else do I love? I think Kanye's on there for me as a creative. Um, I got
Hey,
Kendrick
Evangelist
in there.
Neil.
Hey, they say hi, babe. um, I got Kendrick in there. I got Jay in there. And dang. I mean, you got Biggie, Pac, and Nas that you ain't even talk about yet. So
I
it's a
know,
generational thing too, man.
for
You know,
sure.
but for me, biggest impact will probably be those guys. Yeah, maybe throw Big in there. Brooklyn,
Yeah,
New York.
yeah. I'm
But I
taking
got
Big
so
over
many.
Pocket Nas. I'm
Huh?
taking Big over Pocket Nas personally. I
Are
just
you?
yeah. That's
Yeah.
if it's those three, like he to me,
Yeah. Now
he was just special.
he had this crazy ability, and I can't tell if it was on purpose or if it was like, this might sound disrespectful, but him running out of breath, where
Yeah,
his flow pockets were really weird. So he get these little couplet rhymes. He's like dun 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 this, you know, and just move on, like do a little rhyme and then move
yeah,
on. It would like break the pockets and the schemes in a way that other rappers never did. It's crazy, man.
yeah. So I'm gonna get into some stuff, man. And this they always give me a script with questions, but I always
I
just
saw
throw
the
it out the
script
door.
of questions, and those are actually really good ones. Those are
Yeah,
actually
but
really dope. But do what you want. But
when I run out of stuff to talk about, that's when I glance at it.
yeah, we ain't gonna do that for sure.
Oh, they give that to people? I didn't know that.
They
They
give me
give
a
you
heads up so I could give, and I like when they give me a heads up so I can. Sometimes people put me on the spot, and then I forget, and then an hour later I'm like, I should have told them that story.
Yeah, this is like the
You know?
fifth episode. I never even knew they did that. So that's cool. You educating me.
Yeah. Well, I'm on with the living miracle right now. So wherever you want to take it, my brother,
Well,
you
let me
lead.
say, man, I'm big on reach, bro. Like big, 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 big. Cause I'm a hip hop head, and so what happened with me probably like I don't know back in college at Georgia Southern, like I got super saved, right? I was a frat guy,
Uh-huh.
same thing, kind of crazy testimony,
Yeah.
all like living that life, and then I got like radically changed. And God gave me like this extreme instruction to throw away everything that was like, if you weren't playing in church, if you weren't watching the church, that kind of like
Yeah.
19-year-old, just kind of go crazy. And so
Yeah.
I
That's
threw
usually
away
the first step is breaking your CDs and deleting your iTunes, right?
straight up. So I got rid of everything. And then, so like my love for it kind of was like re-sparked by you guys. So you and KB and Trip and
That's what's
Cray and
up, man.
Tadashi, like I love I love what you guys do, man. And I
Thank you,
know
bro.
KB and I know Cray pretty well, but my first time being able to meet you. So I'm geeked, man. I'm excited. I want to know your story. Like, how did this start for you? Did you grow up rapping in school?
Yeah.
Do you freestyle? Like, what's all of that? How did
Yeah.
you get in it?
Me and my best friend Ryan, growing up, we used to like break dancing, and so we were like, we go through seasons. So we get cardboard boxes, chop them up, lay them out, tape them together, and start dancing. And at that time, you had to buy CDs, which I know is like hilarious for some people, but had to buy CDs, and I didn't have enough money to buy a full CD, so I bought the CD singles, which was like $4, and I had
I remember
the
those.
the regular version, the clean version, and the instrumental.
Instrumental, yeah,
And
yeah.
so when the instrumental would come on, we would just goof around and we would write little raps on the cardboard and freestyle. And then it turned into us writing parodies of other people's songs. So taking their lyrics and swapping stuff out just to make each other laugh. And then, I got like a little computer microphone, like the little thin one. And my boy learned he was a computer guy. So he was like, yo, I downloaded this program we can record on. It's called Cool Edit. And we started to mess around and record in there, and just slowly but surely, like, we just started building in that direction. And I started
How
taking
old are you around this time? This middle
about
school?
yeah, about 9, 10 years old
Okay,
actually. So we got a little E-machine computer, and he hacked like Fruity Loops and something else, and
for sure.
and yeah, so we learned how to record ourselves, and it was like super bootleg. Like we couldn't even do it on the beat. Like we had to rap and then try to lay the beat on it and hope it matched. And so from there, I started taking birthday and Christmas money and buying little pieces of equipment. And before you knew it, I built like a little recording studio when I was in 8th grade in my bedroom. I had a kid at my school. His mom used to sell weed, and he had money, and he was like, "Yo, can I pay you to record me?" And I was like, "I guess." I didn't even know that was a thing. So he kind of started my business.
So you were a
And I
drug dealer? Okay.
no,
Cool. Cool.
I just benefited from the drug dealers. And yeah, so I ended up starting like this little recording studio out of my room in the 8th grade. And I was recording myself and my friends and then other people and making money. So I took that money, put it back into buying more equipment. And it kind of just began this trajectory of like me and my friends making music, having fun, and me recording. So I thought going into music, like if I didn't make it as an artist, I would just be a recording engineer because I was doing studio sessions and I was getting really good at it. So I kind of put my 10,000 hours in working on other people's stuff. And I think I still record myself and produce myself a lot to this day. And those were skills that I developed, you know, when I was in middle school and high school. So I remember being in high school and having like the sidekick and like, I'm in like algebra class and like grown men are hitting me like, yo, can I book studio time? I'm like a little entrepreneur running this business on the
Wow.
side. So that's how it started for me. And, you know, I moved to New York City after I graduated high school and I got
From where?
from Syracuse, New York. So I'm from
Okay.
central New York, Syracuse,
Yep.
moved down to New York City. I was there for 13 years. And then just a few months ago, I moved here to Atlanta to start buying property and,
Yeah.
you know, ownership. So that's kind of the story. When I was in college, I was releasing music and my buddy Alex Medina, who ended up going on to produce You Can't Stop Me and like produce a bunch of stuff on my albums. He also produced that song with Lecrae called Background. And I was the one who wrote and sang that chorus. And that was kind of our first intersection. He was like, "Oh, you're talented. Like, let's link up. It's me." And so Alex Medina became the linchpin for me and Lecrae. We connected. And then 2011 or so, me and Lecrae, like I signed with him. I graduated college and I don't know, I started releasing music with Reach, and I think that kind of catches you up a little bit
That's
where I've been the
crazy.
last 8 years, yeah.
No, that's crazy. So what's your for music heads out there, what's your like software of choice when you're tracking
Logic.
yourself?
I like Logic, yeah.
I
I
grew
learned
on
Logic
Logic.
in
So I've been
college.
on Logic for the past few years. Before then I was heavy on like Pro Tools and Reason. But
Right.
Logic is just very like easy to get around.
It's easy, and it's just what you know. There's really no wrong system. It's just whatever you know and whatever helps your creativity and workflow,
Yeah. So
you know.
so you track.
Yeah, I track everything. I like every album you've ever heard, I recorded those vocals myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man. And you know, a lot of times I
Even in
get
songs
asked,
like Vendetta from like
yeah.
other albums, like I was the one miking up the drums and like recording those sessions of all that stuff. So yeah.
Wow. Yo, I think this is great for cats who like, I get asked a lot, like, how do I get started and what do I do? You know, I have
Yeah.
interest in music and I'm always like, yo, you need to be your own machine. However much you can do
Yeah.
yourself, the better. I mean, and literally in this room, this is where I just finished a record. I mean, I do everything, you know, the same
Yeah.
way, just, you know, myself. As far as like production,
Yeah.
do do you enjoy that or is it strenuous as far as
I
like
enjoy it.
like
I
making
enjoy it a
beats and
lot.
stuff?
I think I might enjoy that more than rapping. Rapping is kind of
Really?
laborious to me. Rapping is like the hardest thing to do. It's like, oh man, like I could mess around with sounds and design sounds and instruments and all that all day. But as soon as it's like, all right, now tap into your emotions, pull something out, make it like really excellently worded and flow, like that's rapping is kind of the hardest part. But because I set such a high standard for myself, I think too.
Yeah.
So it also comes with like a pressure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think what you're saying is true, man. The more people you can remove from the process, the more you won't have excuses about why you can't. You know, so it's like, man, I don't have an engineer, I don't have a studio. It's like, all right, build one. You
Yeah.
know, learn it yourself. And once you do that, like you in a lot of ways become unstoppable because nobody could tell you no. You're like, I'll do it myself.
Yep.
Um,
That's great.
you know, it has some downfalls too,
Yeah.
but to doing everything yourself. But that's,
Yeah.
you know, self-starters,
I
man, get
love
it
it.
done.
I love it. Let's talk about touring. Touring.
Okay.
I don't like touring. Um I enjoy portions of it, right? Like I like
Mm-hmm.
the adrenaline you get on stage. I
Right.
love meeting people. Sleeping on a tour bus isn't fun, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, all the pit stops and just the grind of it. What is
Right.
your how do you, two questions, how do you prepare yourself for that type of grind, and do you enjoy it?
Yeah, yes and no. Same thing. It's like we've been off tour. I just canceled my fall tour because of COVID and everything. And it's like I do not like when it's over and I'm not touring anymore, like I'm gonna be fine. You know?
Yeah,
I'm like I'm enjoying this stay home life for real. But when I'm out there I love it, man. You know, I love touching the fans. Like those people are the people that I do it for. And
yeah,
just
yeah,
seeing them, meeting them at the meet and greet, shaking their hands, hearing their story, holding the microphone out and letting them sing the songs back to you. Like that's such an incredible feeling. But you know, I've done it on like the highest level. So it's
yeah,
like I played arenas, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
after that, it's kind of like, where else do you go? You know, like, so I feel content in what I've done. Um, but you know, new music, performing new music when they know the lyrics is fun, but it's a lot of
Yeah.
hard work because,
A lot.
again, if you hold yourself to a really high standard, it's not just a performance for you. It's like months of preparation, ideas, rehearsals, trying to get those drops right, you know. So,
What's the so here's a random question. What's the moment, and you're a New Yorker, so this may not even apply. I can't, New Yorkers don't really get fanned out like that. But what's the moment at a show or just somewhere where you found out like someone was like on your music and you was like, oh snap, like that's, you know,
that's
who and what, when has that happened?
that someone listens to my music.
Someone listens to your music, someone supports you that you just wouldn't have
Oh,
expected, or someone you
yep,
met.
yeah, man, there's a lot. There's a lot of cool moments. Like going up to do Sway, like Sway in the morning, and
Yeah.
having Sway be like, "Yo, you're dope." I was like, "What? You're like a legend to me." Or the other day, my man sent me a screenshot. He's like, "Yo, The Rock follows you, right?" And I was like, "What?" And I had to like look, and I was like, "The Rock follows me? Like how?" Um, you know, like LeBron when he posted that video of him listening to my music, I was like, "What?" You know,
Yeah.
Justin Bieber followed me the other day,
Yeah.
and I just like, yo, this is crazy. I didn't realize the music. You know, you're asleep and you wake up and someone was listening to your music somewhere in the world, and you're just kind of like, how, Sway? You know,
Yeah.
it's just him, Steph Curry, like some of the biggest people in the world. You
Yeah.
know, who just say, "Hey, I love your music and appreciate what you do." Those
Yeah.
are really cool moments, man. But
What's the embarrassing moment that happened to you?
falling off stage for sure. Went to go step on a speaker, missed the speaker, fell off, fell onto a cameraman.
Were you
Kept
hurt?
rapping. Nah, but I think I broke his camera. There was another time I went to go get on stage, and the people who was on stage before me, as like the openers, took water guns and were like spraying the crowd. And I'm
Oh,
like, they ain't even come here for you. Why you like spraying them?
oh,
But what it did is it left the whole stage wet.
oh.
So I'm going through it because this was at a college. It was like Indiana
Yeah.
State or something. And I'm moving through the crowd, and some girl grabs my cheeks, like grabs my butt cheeks. I was like, oh, right before I got on stage. And so I'm like disheveled from that. And then as I'm on the stage, I go to take my first step, and the floor is still wet. Yo, I do a split and fall straight on my face.
Yes.
So that was an embarrassing moment. I had
Yes.
another one on the Unashamed tour where I had brought this trampoline out onto the stage, and I would like jump around on like, so if I'm running over to the DJ where he's elevated, I would jump on the trampoline, I would just fly up onto his
Yeah.
elevation platform. So I was like using it as a thing to move around the stage, and I jumped on it one night and a leg went out, and I had to like stretch my leg to try to reach up to the platform, and I tore my pants in half down the middle. I had just bought these like whatever. What were
During the show?
yeah, during the show, they were like Ralph Lauren, like nice like camo pants or whatever. And I just ripped them down to half, and I felt this wind between my legs, and I was like, "Oh no, I have to finish my set with my joint out." You know what I'm saying? So I like crisscrossed my legs and like waddled around the rest of the time. A nightmare.
I love that, man. Yeah,
I got so many, man.
I've had some really rough moments. I was on tour last year and I had this brilliant idea of riding through the lobby on a skateboard, right? Because in my
Yep.
mind, I want to think I'm a skateboarder. Well, it was raining outside, and so the lobby was wet. And yeah, it just in front of everybody out there. So I'm riding through like high five, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't know how many people out there, but you know the lobby's packed. And I'm riding through like high five, and people like, hey, they're like Travis, hey. I'm like, you know, and I'm just having fun and hit this joint, and it. All you saw a bunch of people, and you see me a little higher going, and then I just disappear on my face. Absolutely humiliating.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yep.
humiliating.
If you do this thing long enough, it's inevitable.
It's bound to happen.
I can drive if you want, drive over.
It's bound to happen.
It's gonna happen, cuz.
All right, question. Your favorite song that you've done?
That I've made, man, I'm really proud of songs like Clarity. There's another one I did called Shame. It's about like my addiction to pornography, and like breaking free from that and how that whole thing came together. There's a few that I'm like really proud of writing wise. And it's funny because the ones that are your best songs aren't always your biggest songs. You know, so I personally think like that's some of my best writing. But yeah, I don't know. I let the people decide.
A lot of thought into what you want to say.
100%. That's why writing is such a laborious process, because I can't give myself a pass to write a BS line.
Yeah, yeah.
And everything has to be authentic. It has to be me. It has to come from a real place. So I really have to dig for lyrics, because I don't even like, you know, sometimes people just say like, oh, I'll just make a whatever rhyme just to fill to the next one. It's like, I can't do that. Like every line has to matter for me.
Magic and Bird. What was that? What was the whole idea behind that?
Oh man, honestly, this is what Magic and Bird was. I was in the middle of working on Neverland 2, which ended up being The Arrow and the Sword, the 2 EPs I dropped last year. And I was stuck. Like I was emotionally exhausted, and I was like stuck. And my man was like, yo, my man Dell was like, you should just release some of these other songs you've been sitting on that are kind of like turn up and fun. And it ended up being this kind of like creative release to like stop what I was doing and try something else. And I had my man Words played, who I'd signed to minor league. And I was like, yo, let's just have him jump on there. And then Dell came up with this idea. What if we called it Magic and Bird? And it was y'all two back and forth, and it was all fun, turn up records. So it was this nice little moment for us to take these records we kind of had in the clip, to finish them, put them out. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but it's like, a lot of times we as artists, we work on music and it never comes out because it doesn't fit a project, or you don't think it's good enough, or you just can't run out of ideas. And so this was a cool way to get that out. And it ended up just being such a fun time, man. It was like me and one of my best friends in the world got to make an incredible project together. I got to get in the studio with Beam, and he executive produced the whole thing. And now he's killing it as his own headline artist. And kind of how it came together, man. It was just a lot of fun.
It's a really dope record. Switching gears, humility. How do you maintain humility?
Being married helps me be
for sure,
humble.
For sure.
Yeah,
because they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. You want to know? You want to know who a man really is? Like, ask his wife. That's how I would say. Like, we got people who have public personas, and they're like, "Oh, you're the man." What does your wife think of you?
Whoa.
That's the thing.
Whoa.
And so I'll find her and put her on. You know, people are like, "Oh yeah, well, what she said." But no, being married is to a person who is dope helps. 2 is just having don't think about yourself so often. Is basically how like it happens. Like, I think once you start getting fame and success, you can start to remove yourself from like menial regular tasks, because you're like, I'm above that, I'm beyond that. But I don't.
I don't touch trash.
Exactly. Taking out the trash, or even stuff like I lead a Bible study every Monday night, and it's like I could just be like, nah, I'm not going to do that. But it's like I want to commit to serving some younger cats and investing in them. Yeah, just having real friends that aren't aren't impressed by your celebrity or impressed by who you are. They're not afraid to call you out on crap. I have a great circle of friends that help me do that. And so
That's great.
I'm not saying I'm a humble guy. I'm saying I'm a.
Your guy that's getting a phone call during the IG live. Oh, I think I had a really good question too. Are you guys enjoying this? This is great, right? We were Andy Mineo on the Green Room. I think he got some. He might have got a call that came through or something that got it delayed. Follow, do me a favor, follow Undivided Sound and follow Andy Mineo. I think their handles are beneath. So y'all make sure y'all follow Undivided Sound, follow Andy Mineo. And we're going to keep these type of things coming. The next question I was going to ask him was about really spiritual diet. Because one thing that, like, you know, I think people need to know practically that even when you're busy, like, you still have to maintain a level of routine, I guess, if you will, for your spiritual development so that you're maintaining focus, which is the source of humility, which is the source of creativity, which is the source of passion, which is the source of integrity. All is found in the presence of God. And I always tell people, man, I don't like the enemy don't mind you being busy. Like, he's afraid of you being focused, right? And so you have to still maintain things in your life to have focus, to have priority, to make the main thing the main thing. And so that's what I really want to ask him about. I hope you guys are enjoying this. So,
Yo, sorry
yeah,
about that.
no, all good, all good. So, is
My
that
phone
wifey?
actually overheated because it was in the sun.
Is that wifey back?
Wifey, yes, she's right there.
So,
But I got the AirPod in. You
oh,
want
okay, because
you want to
everybody
hear it?
wants
Let
to
me
know her interpretation.
say what.
Everybody want to know what she thinks about Andy.
What do you think? I said, babe, the way you know who a man really is, you got to ask their wife what they think about him.
I think Andy is genuinely one of the most impressive human beings I've ever met. I think he's incredibly intelligent and talented and doesn't always get everything right, but has a very good heart to serve and care for people.
I love it. Yo, I got another question for
I
you.
didn't pay her.
I got another question. Does he let you listen to stuff early? Because sometimes, like, I let my wife listen to stuff as like a test.
Well, I think I'm part of his process because
right.
I listen to almost everything, and then sometimes it's hard for me to remember what actually came out and what didn't because I've heard it all like so many times. But it's a fun role for me to play because I have no musical talent whatsoever. So at least I can just give feedback.
I love it.
That's
Well,
right.
welcome to the South, baby girl. We're glad to have you down here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're loving it so far.
We
Yeah,
do.
I love it. I love it. So, Andy, this was my next question I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
It was going to be a question about spiritual diet, right? So,
Okay.
you're a busy man. If this is a typical year for you, if COVID's not happening, you could have, I don't know, let's just throw out a number, 70 to 100 shows. So, you're busy, you're rocking, you're all over the place. How do you maintain a routine of devotion that keeps you locked in, keeps you focused, keeps you maintaining integrity, prioritization, all of that stuff? Like, what does
Yeah.
that look like?
Yeah, some of it's similar to the same conversation about humility is like building in things that being built into your life can be helpful. I think this is an area, honestly, that I've ebbed and flowed in where I was, there's certain times in my life where if I went a day without spending an hour with God, I felt like the biggest failure. And then there's been seasons of my life I was like, I ain't touched my Bible in a month. You know? So for me, like, here's the thing we're doing, right? Like, I'm working out every day, 5 days a week. And it's been like this for like 3 months. The reason why I'm so consistent on this workout is because I got other people who are meeting me at an exact time. So 10 a.m., we get on a Zoom call together and we do it. And if I know they're going to show up, that means I have to show up because they're waiting on me. So you build in some ways, some things in your life that kind of force you back on the track. And I think Bible study is one of those things for me where I know I got to show up every week and have spent time in God's word. And I know I got to share and talk with other people. That's a grace for me.
Yeah.
There's other things I try to do that are just like simple things, like just try to read a chapter. Try to read a chapter of something and move through it. Try to read a proverb. You know, there's 30 proverbs, so you can do them by the day. So
31
or June 19th, read Proverb 19. You know, it's like little things like that. Trying to be committed to a community of people is helpful. You know, so
that's great. Question: How did you come to know? How did you come to know Christ? Like, what was that like?
I went to a summer camp. Well, my mom was a Christian.
Okay.
And so she would like bring me around church stuff and all that. But it didn't really take root, you know what I'm saying? So basically one summer my sister went to a summer camp and she was a what do you call it, counselor. And she was like, "You want to come?" And I was like, "Not really. This sounds like weird to me." And she was like, I was like, "What's going to be there?" She said, "Zip lining, rock climbing, lake, and some girls." And I was like, "I'm in." So that was like the entry point for me. And basically I ended up meeting some really, really incredible people who got to share faith with me. And I got to see what a Christian life would look like. And yeah, the message of the gospel was really appealing to me. Like, Jesus lived a life you couldn't live and died a death that you should have died. Wants to offer you life, forgiveness, and like guidance. And I was like, I'm in. So I had a really intense spiritual experience early on, like some pretty transformative stuff. Like, yo, I feel different. Like, I got love in my heart for people I've hated my whole life. Like, I had a moment where I was praying and I felt like I got knocked over. Like, it was just kind of really, what do you say? Like, felt like really supernatural things were happening to me at that time. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I think that was probably at the beginning of that journey for me when I was like 12, 13 years old.
You seem to have a very broad worldview. And I know New York is it's a melting pot. So I'm sure that has contributed some. But just from your lyricism and your approach to music, it seems like you're always kind of, if you're not just having fun and just flowing, like you're literally talking about something specific. There's one song that you have that I love. I don't know the name of it. I know the hook of it.
How's it go? Sing.
For the ladies, not true. That one. If you don't love me, they gonna love me when I pull up to.
Anything but country.
Yeah. So I love that joint, and it's like a message in it. So many other songs, and I think Reach is kind of, that's just a thing, right? Cray would, Dirty Water. I mean, he'll just straight up go for, like, he'll rap about politics, government, like he don't care, anything, call a spade a spade. What do you believe has contributed to your worldview, and not being, I guess, so blinded to what's happening in the world, but like really having a message for it?
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't grow up in like a strict Christian home. I didn't I don't know. I didn't get like churchified early on. And I think I've always just valued authenticity. So I can't act. Like, I can't pretend. And it really bothers me to the core of who I am. So like, I have to be exactly who I am at that moment, which I'm always learning and evolving. But I think that is what some people sense in the music, is like, oh, you sound like you're free to say what you want and be who you are and think what you think. Because, and I'm like, yeah, that's the only way I feel like we can move through life, authentically. And so I don't have some of the stigmas or some of the issues some of the guys who came before me did, which was like, you're not Christian enough. I was like, I'm going to just be myself and do my own thing. And, that's helped, I think, along the way. It's because I never felt like, there was a point in time, if you were a Christian, you made music, like, if every song didn't end with like an altar call or something, it was like, you failed, But I was like, what is not God honoring about talking about money, talking about relationships, talking about failures? Like, so a lot of my stuff was shaped by like Schaefer. Just doing some reading with Francis Schaeffer. There's also another book called Imagine that was really helpful for me, and it was the idea of like imagining your Christianity as broader than, like, for example, if I want to serve the Lord, then I have to be a pastor, and that's the only way. Like, and it's like that's not true. And I think once I started getting freed from those ideas, I was like, oh, sometimes I find myself able to do more damage for the kingdom of God in a good way, like reach people, talk with people, connect with people, because I'm not a pastor. And it makes me realize, because if I have if I have this pastor hat on, then immediately it changes the power dynamic in the relationship, and it creates this thing that certain people don't want all the time. And so this isn't against any pastors, obviously you're a pastor, but it's like we need both. We need people who think ministry is to be a pastor and ministry is to be a rapper or to be a shoemaker or a business owner. We all work together to contribute to like the kingdom of God, if you would call it that. So
it's good.
I also went to Tim Keller's church for a long time when I was in New York City.
Amazing writer.
He's got this thing called the Center for Faith and Work. And so he shows how basically having your faith can interweave into whatever field you're in. So I think that was some big shaping things for me spiritually.
Super good. Favorite city?
I love New York, obviously. But I really like Portland. I like the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, Portland area.
Never been. I'm told it's dope though.
It's dope. It's like gloomy and moody, and then it's like you'll have a city, like a real urban like vibe, like cool food, cool buildings, and then like you'll look to your right and it'll be an enormous mountain. So it feels like you get both up there.
Yeah, man. I want to we'll do it another time. I would love to just have a dialogue about just the times that we're in, and everything that's happening. And not for any point. I was having a conversation with someone recently, right? About this. I feel like I'm just gonna kind of jump out here, but I feel like for people, for like white people, right? Like it's almost like Black Christians, we're like say something, but it's like every single thing that's said is like if the comma's not placed right, or because it's such a sensitive time. And so I've been having conversations, kind of like literally I was on with the mayor of our city a couple of days ago and kind of brought this up. And like I've been having conversations like, how do we bridge the gap on conversations need to be had, but man, maybe not everything is going to be said correctly in the conversation.
Yeah.
But given, I guess, grace to at least even have a dialogue, and the fact that dialogue happened is a win.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's like timing has a lot to do with things, right? So timing and posture. So I think if white people are like
really good,
like let me lead out by saying I'm very ignorant in these areas. I need a lot of help, and I'm probably gonna say some things that might even be offensive. My heart is not to offend anybody, but to learn. And then I think the second thing is like, shut the hell up. Like, shut up and listen. Like, don't feel the need to have to lead the conversation. Here's my thoughts on the situation. Like, ask questions. Like, like, I don't know a lot. If I don't know something, I'm not going to be talking a lot. I'm going to be like, let me ask.
Right.
What do you think about
this? Here's what I think about anthropology that I never studied.
Yeah. Let me give you my 2 cents. Like, shut up. Let people lead the conversation who should be leading the conversation. Like, so I think that has a lot to do with it too.
Great.
What I'm really realizing is happening is this. And this has been happening for a long time, the disenfranchisement and the mistreatment of Black people in America since 1619, right? Since 2012, we got Trayvon Martin. It's been 8 years since in the video footage in the public eye, these conversations have been really bubbling for 8 years.
Yeah.
And I could list 30 other names of people that
For
caught
sure.
on camera, killed on camera, Philando Castile, Eric Gardner. I mean, just go down the line. It's 2020 and finally it's like, hey, where do you stand on this?
Yeah.
And after 8 years of this being an issue in our country and a real, it's in the forefront, like Black Lives Matter. And now it's 2020 and it's time for you to say something and you have nothing to contribute to the conversation. Black people, I think, and you can tell me, but the sentiment I get from my friends and brothers is we're just fed up. That you could be this far removed and this ignorant to the situation because
Wow.
it's showing you've never had to care about it. And now the only reason you are caring about it is because you might get canceled if you don't.
Wow.
It's like a PR stunt to care about Black lives all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
man. It's so annoying.
You've had so long to have discussions, and now it's hey, we need a statement from every business and everything, where y'all stand. And people are we have nothing to say because we don't know anything about this, because after all these years of we probably should have cared, we never had to, but now we're being checked on it. That's what's upsetting.
Wow.
Is you've had all this opportunity and this time, and now people are bro, come on, man. It's 2020.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you can't even pick up your cell phone without seeing a report. So the idea that I don't know what's happening is just, and I don't understand as believers how there are two different sides, right? I was in a conversation. I'm in this thing called Worship Circle that Tasha Cobbs got me involved in, and it's all white. It's all white worship leaders. So it's your Kim Walker, it's your Rita Springer, it's Charlie Hall. I mean, all of these white worship leaders. And so Tasha and I, we're the only two black on there. And the guy who's over it, amazing dude, Todd, he wants to diversify the entire thing. Basically what it is, we're a group of coaches that we coach worship pastors all over the world. So it's a really cool setup. But we had a conversation this past week about just the times and everything that's going on. And one of the questions that was asked by someone was, how do you have what to say to the person who feels a different way about what happened, in the most recent case? What do you say to? I'm feel a different. What other way to feel?
That's the craziest thing to me is
as a believer,
how about we offer another perspective? And I'm
as a believer, how is there another perspective?
Yeah.
I mean, now I get it. Dude, I understand there are cases where it's oh man, bro, you probably shouldn't have punched a cop in the face. That's probably just not a good idea. But then there are other cases where we literally are watching someone being choked. I don't understand how there's multiple interpretations of that as a believer. Yeah. That's confusing for me. How do you?
Yeah, and it's sad that I have a tweet that I put out, and the thing just went bonkers. It's got 250. It's got 250,000 likes, and I was I don't ever get that many likes on anything, but it's because it's it's hey, why do people need to be coached on how to have empathy for people who get murdered? I mean, if you're a Christian, it should be basic that you believe people are born in the image of God. They have human dignity and rights. You know what I'm saying? No matter what they've done in their past. And I think I've been hearing stuff about, George Floyd. George Floyd, he was on drugs. He wasn't a good guy. He was a bad guy. And it's I don't care. He shouldn't have his knee put on his neck. And if white kids can go and shoot up churches and leave and get taken to McDonald's and walked out with bulletproof vests on and then, nicely taken to police headquarters, but a guy with a fake $20 bill has to get murdered in the street. I mean, it's just...
And it's justified.
Yeah, if you can't see that, and then people be well, he was on drugs. It's I don't care. doesn't make him not a human. And if we really want to talk about people's past informing who they are now, then I mean, you have to throw Christianity out altogether.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally what Christians do. Christians go, I'm not my mistakes. I'm forgiven. And I believe people deserve second chances and people aren't their mistakes. And then on top of that, those are the same people who vote for Donald Trump. And you're like, if past has anything to do with it, why are you cool with Donald Trump's past and let him be voted into presidency? So there's a lot of layers of hypocrisy and just stupidity, honestly, for me. But yeah, I think that to say that there's multiple perspectives is just really a denial of, like, yeah, man, I don't want to hear from black people. I don't want to let them share how they feel. You just shut up. You know, I don't want to hear you say Black Lives Matter, so I'm going to say all lives matter. It's like, why is that offensive to you?
Right.
It's just people our society has racism so baked into it, you can't even notice it sometimes. It's like, this person used to say this to me growing up. It's like, you've been rolling around in crap so long you don't smell it on yourself anymore. And it's like, sometimes people are so deep that they can't even sense it on themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the walls we're coming up against. It's like, let me share my perspective.
Yeah.
And I love how people who want to share their perspective typically don't have any significant relationships with black people. It's like, so you don't know any black people, but you know what's best for them. That makes a lot of sense.
Or you only know the few that attend your church, but you've never invited to your house.
Don't talk with them. That's what I'm saying. No significant relationships.
Yeah, yeah.
I know someone's like pretty much, in over their head when they start to talk about. They try to like recount all their black experiences. Like, oh, well, my one friend, his cousin's sister, we hung out before, and dude, we are so tight. We follow each other on Twitter. You're like, what? This is how you're proving to me you're not.
Yo, you just reminded me of a funny thing that happened to me. So we went to eat wings. This was forever ago. This is probably 6 years ago. We're eating wings in Charlotte, and the dude, they messed up one of my homies' order, and the manager comes out, and he's like, so we're gonna take care of the bill, but we'll just ask you guys to never come back. And I was like, whoa, buddy, like, whoa, sir, like first of all, the order was messed up. Second of all, I never asked you to pay for my bill. I could pay for my bill. I said some other stuff, that was just prideful about money at the time. But like, bro, I'm not desperate for your help financially. And I was like, clearly there's some racism going on here. I pulled a race card out on him. I thought it was necessary in the moment. He was like, this was his response. It was classic. He said, I'm not racist. There's blacks in the kitchen now.
Yeah.
I died. I was like, bro, that's your defense for coming to the table like this.
Like, thank you for further proving my point, sir.
Oh man, it was we ended up actually becoming friends, and he let me eat there for free after that point. But it was just really funny. I was like, bro, are we serious right now? Like, you got blacks in the kitchen. Like, come on, man.
What? But we let black people eat here all the time. It's a free country, chief.
Oh man, we have blacks in the kitchen. Like, a couple of them have on aprons, like looking out. This is a true story. Like, looking out, like. I was like, man, come on, bro. Like, what year are we in? What are we really talking about?
Yeah.
Here's a tough question.
Okay.
A really tough question. And as a pastor, I gotta go here because of what you were just saying about what Christianity stands for, which is forgiveness, right? Mm-hmm. How do we juggle that in these times for an officer who killed someone on TV? Like, how do we, of course we want justice, but how do we, as believers, walk in forgiveness? And this is always my stance, right? Jesus, and a lot of people get upset. My church knows who I am, so they rock with me on it, but a lot of people don't know my heart, will get upset at this type of stuff. But Jesus is on the cross, right? He is the hashtag.
Yeah.
he's looking at the officers who are killing him, and he prays, forgive them for they know not what they do. Stephen does that same thing. The people who are literally killing him, he's praying for their forgiveness as he's being stoned. How do we juggle that in this climate? And once again, for me, the answer is not, oh, we got to wait till, things calm down. Jesus is at the climax of it. Like, he didn't wait till he rose again and 40 days later, right before he ascends, say, you know what? Actually, forget the people who did that, a month and a half ago. He's literally being crucified and walks in forgiveness. How in the world do we do that in times like these?
Yeah, well, I think it's a really tricky thing because I know Christianity has been weaponized often to reinforce racism. And it's been reinforced to, like, on some, like, see, you need to, like, forgive us, because Christians aren't supposed to forgive. It's like, yes, but there's some principles within that that need to be understood. So, for example, Jesus willingly went to the cross for us, and he was God. People who are being killed in the street, black people being killed in the street by police officers, did not willingly put themselves in those situations, right? Like, these are two totally different things.
Wow.
And Jesus came for the very people who were disenfranchised and marginalized and pushed to the side. Blessed are the poor, for, you know what I'm saying? Like, blessed are the meek in spirit, blessed. And he's fighting for injustice. And when people are mistreated, it gets him riled up. When people think that they're more self-righteous and better than other people, he gets pissed off about that.
For sure.
So he hates looking at injustice, and he wants to help people in that way. So I think trying to compare those two can be a dangerous thing, because you can just be like, yeah, y'all who are being beat up by an institution, y'all just need to be bigger than them and ask, and forgive them. I think the difference between, like, forgiving someone and trying to make change, like institutional change, is it happens in a couple layers. So one, for me to forgive somebody does not also mean that I'm going to let them keep abusing me. So, for example, if a
That's good.
a babysitter raped my daughter, right? I could, maybe someday, forgive the person who raped my daughter, but you're never going to babysit my kid ever again in your life.
Right.
Right? So, like, forgiveness is not the same as... Forgiveness sometimes comes along with restitution and, like, change. So I think it's big that, maybe the people, the family members of George Floyd could forgive that police officer, but that doesn't mean that police officer shouldn't lose his job and be put in jail for murder, because that's justice. So it's making sure that the conversation's broad enough to be like, forgiveness is our heartbeat, but justice is also the heartbeat of God, and so they need to work in tandem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and not just for. And I love this conversation. I think justice is not just for punishment, but for protection. Right? It's the babysitter analogy. Like, hey man, this cop is dangerous. Like him being on the it's why you arrest a common criminal. It's like this person is a threat to civilization. So I really love that, and I think it's just wisdom what you're saying, that it can be both, that forgiveness and justice can kind of, I guess, coexist.
Right. Because what I think happens is, like, white Christians want to get to, like, man, it's just a gospel issue. It's just a heart issue. It's like, nah, y'all don't say that about everything else.
Right.
For example, when there's people in sex slavery, it's like, oh my God, we got to do something. It's not just like, let's pray for them and let's just preach the gospel. It's like, you're going to do that, and then you're also going to take action to change it, to make sure it doesn't happen. I hate when we spiritualize away, like, seeking justice. That's such nonsense to me, because y'all don't do it. It's like, oh, I don't believe in abortion. Oh, okay. So it's like, so let's just pray for people and just, no, y'all go to the abortion clinics, y'all raise money, you actively get into the fight of changing the system. You don't just stand back and spiritualize it.
Right.
So I think what we need is 4 things, and they're the 4 P's, so they're easy to remember. Is you have protest, like people lifting their voices to talk about this. The reason why it's gained so much momentum right now is because there's people protesting.
Yeah.
Twitter's going off, people raising their voice. Second is policies need to change. So you're not just having people talk about it on the street, but at a systemic government level, policies are being changed to stop the nonsense. Because what racism does is it doesn't just stop, it just mutates into other forms. So it's like,
Yep.
we're gonna get rid of slavery, but we're gonna make sure that y'all can't vote.
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, yeah, you kind of gave us freedom, but now we can't vote, and now
but then
we
you
can't
place bondage. But then bondage showed up in another area.
Right. And then people they're like, okay, but you can't do that either. And they're like, okay, well, let's create the 13th Amendment. Like, okay, well, let's, and they just it just keeps reforming. And that's why it becomes difficult for people to recognize, because they're like, I don't even see it. People aren't calling people the N-word and like hanging people anymore. It's like, no, racism is far deeper than that. Like it mutates into systems. So you need policies changed. So you need protest, you need policies changed, you need programs. Programs are like the groundwork where they're like community centers, setting up like, Black-owned businesses, making sure that like money is funneled towards them, putting your money with Black-owned banks instead of like the big banks, helping your own communities, programs. And then the fourth is prayer. Those things, like, change can't actually happen until working together.
Yeah.
But most of the time, Christians, because they don't want to deal with it, because it makes them uncomfortable, particularly white Christians, is they're like, just pray about it. You don't do that with other stuff. So stop trying to spiritualize injustice away and be like, we just need forgiveness. Like, bro, you need both.
Yeah.
You need all of it. I'm sorry. I'm like, screaming right now.
No, bro. I love it. I love it. And I think it becomes real when it hits home, right? Like when the scenario is personal. Like you're not saying that same thing when it's your daughter or your son or your mom or dad that you're watching being executed. You want forgiveness, but you want that person off the street as well. I think sometimes 100%. Justice for me, and this I will wrap up with this. The one thing that I'm kind of leery of concerning justice is the double standard, though, and the selective grace. Is because we want justice for some things, but not all things, right? So, like, if someone shoots my cousin, I want them to go to jail. But if my cousin, puts dope or assault somebody, or whatever, it's like, God, please don't let them go to jail. And, we're going to fast and we're going to do everything to try to make sure that you don't go. How do we dance with that? I think, I don't want to call it hypocrisy, but it's kind of like, I want justice, but do I really want justice?
Yeah. I think those are two, in some ways, two kind of different things. When you're looking at like injustice on the macro and then injustice on the personal level, those are difficult things to deal with. I think what the issue that's being put to the forefront right now is like injustice on the macro. It's like, hey, y'all, we need to just recognize that there's definitely not only a history that's 400 years old and connected to all this and like consistent disenfranchisement, and it's showing itself right now. And then the like, dang, my cousin shot somebody. Like, I don't want him to go to jail, but this is part of the, the whole thing. I think those are kind of two different issues that are being talked about differently. But I feel you. I feel like we have to hold our own friends and people and family accountable for their own nonsense. You know what I'm saying? And wish the best for them. But that's why I think that's the policies, the spiritual practices, the programs, like all of that works together to try to help create a healthier community, a healthier society where that stuff doesn't have to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Andy Mineo, this was incredible, bro. I think so many people were blessed by it, man. I definitely didn't do any of these questions. But I think this conversation was great, man. And I think people need it. People have been So I had this conversation with my wife recently, and then we'll bounce. She was asking about black on black crime, right? And we have just real honest conversations. She was like, why don't we get upset about black on black crime? And I was like, and this is my response, right? Is that I don't think it's that we don't get upset with black on black crime. I think it's that people get arrested for black on black crime. Like that, like what the protesting is about is not just the act committed, which is wrong in its own, but it's the injustice attached to it. It's, if I got 3 little boys, if one of them punched the other one, they're going to be disciplined. But you're telling me that my white neighbor child could come over here, hit my child, and nothing happened to them. It's just there's a conversation about, well, obviously your child did something to deserve to be punched. It's like, what? Like, and I think that's where, that's for anyone, who's been kind of battling with this black on black crime thing. And why aren't we as, I think the crime isn't just the point of irritation here, is the injustice attached to.
Right, sure. And I don't think when you fight for injustice that you nullify personal responsibility of people either. Like, I think, like when white people particularly hear things like white privilege or like, like black people are treated differently, they're like, well, what about their own communities? It's like, black communities care about black on black crime. It's like, not like they're just like, oh, we don't care about that, but we care about when you kill us. They do care. And there's like actively people always trying to change and reform that, so they aren't like completely separated issues. But it's stuff like I get so many people that talk to me about white privilege that get so upset because they're like, I had a hard life, I'm white and things weren't handed to me, I wasn't born with a silver spoon. It's like nobody's saying that. It's that's not actually what's said. Like, to understand white privilege is just to understand that you have certain advantages over people who don't look like you. Like the assumption about who you are is usually a good one, as opposed to if you're a black person in that restaurant, oh, they must be thieves, they must be XYZ. Comes with stereotypes. It doesn't mean that life is just everything's handed to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's why white people get so angry and tripped up. But that's that personal autonomy thing. It's like, oh, because I'm white, you're discounting my personal experience, or because you're black, then you don't have any personal responsibility for what you do. That's not what's being said. It's zooming out to see the macro picture. That these statistics, that these things all have stories and histories connected to them that tell an arch. And I think it's hard for us to do that because we want to personalize everything. Like, well, I got beat up by a black guy one time. Like, so it's like, it's not what we're talking about, And it's like, zoom out for a second from your small moment and look at the macro. So I think that's what's happening now, is people are getting educated on all that, and it's helpful. It's helpful to understand a big narrative,
Good. I love it, man. Priscilla Stryer said, what's up? We love you, woman of God. Excited about your new Bible study with about Elijah. That joint looks lit. We love you so much and your family. And everybody who tuned in, thank y'all so much for tuning in again to the Green Room. My homie, my new brother, Andy, love you, man. Thank you. This was educational. Your perspective was definitely a breath of fresh air that was necessary. And so I wasn't planning to go there. We just got there. But I think it was great to hear perspectives and for us all to continue to grow.
Absolutely. Yeah, save the video and upload it for me. Send it to me. I'll try to share it too.
I got it.
All right, my brother.
All right, fam. Much love, everybody.